Hey everybody, it's Cassandra and Paula with All In for 2025. How are you all today? I hope you're doing well. It's going to be warm today here in Illinois, so that's kind of nice. 62 degrees, which is much better than Sunday, which was, snow. It's all melting though, so, you know, we are
Exactly.
adaptable people here in the Midwest is all I'm going to say. How are you, Paula?
That we are. I am well, and the sun makes me happy, so I'm very happy today.
So, in our pre-talk, which we always have a pre-talk, Paula and I were talking about limiting beliefs and also sort of trusting yourself, especially around life, business, all the things. Um, and I was sharing some decisions that I had made last week about my own business, about my own life, things that I want to shift. And we'll get into this, but how does this resonate for you, Paula?
Yeah, I think same thing. I think one of the things that is so important is having clarity. I think one of the things, as we were, talking about, is you will have lots of noise in your ear, especially as an entrepreneur, but just in life. There will always be somebody who has an opinion about how you should be doing something, the way you should be doing it, and you question yourself, and am I doing it the right way? And limiting beliefs is one of those things that I think can mire anybody down. It really can. It gets to a place where you just and how you think about what you're doing and you limit yourself. And so yeah, it definitely resonates. And I think as we were talking about is, we have to trust our own voices, right? We have to trust who we are, our gifts that we have and how we use them, and recognize that there's somebody out there waiting for our gift. And when we unfortunately go down, this path, and I've been down many, many paths, um, it's prolonging the person who's waiting for us to hear what we need to say to them. And so we've got to take hold of those beliefs and recognize that it's okay to do it the way we want to do it. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when you make a change, whether it's a pivot into another career or a shift in your business or a life change of any kind, because we have such access to information now, right? We will like look it up, Google, get how's everybody else doing it? What are they doing? How should I be doing it? Oh, wait, this person does it this way. And you end up going down this rabbit hole. And I feel like what happened, I mean, I think research is good. I'm not saying that. There's huge value in research. There's huge value in sort of seeing how other
Yes.
people are doing things. But ultimately, I think what happens is we get hung up on feeling like we're not doing all the things that we need to be doing based on what we're seeing everybody else doing.
Mhm.
And suddenly you're like, well, I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And I'm not doing that. And gosh, do I really need to spend 3 hours a day on social media? Do I really need to, there's like these things. And ultimately, what I always have come back to in my own life, and it's cyclical, because I
Mhm.
always feel like I have like seasons, we all have seasons, is trusting your own instincts, trusting your own gut, asking yourself, what is
Mhm.
it that lights me up? And how do I want my life to look around that? And obviously business you have to get business, you have to try to, if you're going to in business for yourself, you have to try to build your business and whatever. But there doesn't necessarily have to be a one size fits all way to do that. If somebody's method works for them, great, but find what works for you. And I think that that's whenever we, because that's what I was doing. I think I was making a change and a shift, and instead of integrating my work, I was almost separating it out, and that was a mistake or a learning. It was a growth opportunity for me to go, hey, I thought this was what I wanted, but now I realize that the thing that I have been doing is what makes me unique. So I think sometimes we forget that the thing that lights us up, that we're passionate about, is the thing that makes us unique, and we shouldn't just toss that aside. We should integrate. That's my 2 cents.
And I think there's something to be said for, again, it's following your gut. It's following and finding your voice in terms and trusting your voice and your intuition. And again, there's nothing wrong with what other people are doing. I recognize that it just may not be for me, and that's okay. And I think we've gotten so used to, and again, we know it's because of the environment, social media, and all the things. But we think that because somebody's doing it this way, this is the way it has to be. And the reality is, no. What works for you works for you, and that's whether you are in business for yourself. That's whether you are not, whether you're working. It's making the choices that make sense for you. And sometimes everybody's not going to understand that. I have said over and over in the last couple of years as I speak, I am unapologetically Paula, and I'm gonna keep saying that. And I'm saying it from a place of not arrogance. I'm saying it from a place of this is who I am, and it doesn't mean that I'm perfect. It doesn't mean any of that. I know that I can still grow and learn all the things. But when I say that, it's saying from a place of maybe the things that I do and the way I show up is what makes me happy. And I think too often, you'll switch and I'll switch and oh, I should go do this. No, no, you are unapologetically Paula. Do you? And I think sometimes it gets very frustrating, right, to ourselves. Then when we try going down this path, and then you quickly realize, why did I go down this path? Why am I doing this? And the gut tells you, yeah, you shouldn't have done it. And so listening to that gut, listening to the intuition, it matters. It really does. And I think just too often we don't listen enough. And going back to that the point that's top when we said limiting beliefs, I think believing that we can't do certain things in the way that we want to do it, it's just false. If you really want to do it, you just got to work at it. That's what this is about. It doesn't come overnight. It's not necessarily easy, but put the work in. And I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say sometimes I don't put the work in. I want it to come easy, but you got to put the work in. And when you put the work in, believe me, it'll happen. But you gotta trust your gut.
I agree 100%. And I've been really paying attention lately, and I would encourage everyone to do this, to when I'm in my, well, whatever you want to call it, my zone of genius, my joy, when I'm feeling like, wow, there you are. Like, there you are, girl, you know? And I feel like when I'm in that place, I feel the most like myself. I feel the most excited. I feel the most motivated. And when I support that, with my work that I do on infrastructure or business building or, marketing or promotion
Yeah.
or whatever, when I'm really into it, then I don't have any problem putting
Yeah.
stuff out there. When
Yeah.
I'm not into it is when the issue is. And I think when we're not into it, to your point, we have to look at that. Like you said, oh, you go down that path and you're like, why did I go down that path? I believe that all the paths are a good growth experience, right? We're going to learn something from all of them. And
Yeah.
sometimes they do this and, they go all
Yeah.
around, but eventually they
Yeah.
sort of come back to home. And I feel like the last few years for me have been sort of this winding thing that has actually brought me back to home.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
home is what I lost during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think that, helping people, like my gut, my love is helping people find their voice, whether it's, as a singer or as a speaker or an entrepreneur or as a visionary or as a creative, like helping people like tap into that is what has always lit me up.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, it got muddled by all the noise.
Yep.
My own voice did.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'm starting to get clarity, which is what we were talking about before we jumped on the call. And I think that it's really just listening to yourself and knowing, you know what, I know what I need. I know what I
Yeah.
need. Take in the information, but ultimately sit with yourself and go, what do I need?
Yeah.
What do I want my days to look like?
Yeah.
And build something around that.
Yeah. And I'll just end with this, and don't apologize for it. I think too often we feel like we have to apologize for who we are and what we want, and I refuse to do that. And I think too often um, that's how we end up showing up, um, because we're trying to make sure that everybody's comfortable around us. It is not my job to make everybody comfortable around me. It is not. I need to be comfortable around others. And so, I've talked about this before where my three words, are joy, peace, and happiness. And so I know what brings me joy, peace, and happiness. And so those are the things that I want around me. And so when it comes to whether it's business or personal, professional, whatever that is, it's exactly that. And it's reminding ourselves of that and going back to, kind of what brings me joy is it is helping people. It is creating better leaders out in this world. It is inspiring and impacting people to know that they can communicate in a much more effective way. And when we understand that and not go down exactly what you just said, whether it's what the wrong path or whatever, and we can, argue whether it's right or wrong, it's a path and you hit on it because I even talk about this. It's a lesson. It's a lesson. And so we can learn from whatever path we go down, but the lesson coming out of that should also get us right on the right path that we should be on. And I think for me, that's the key in understanding whatever beliefs uh, that I may have is go back to again, you're unapologetically Paula, and I'm gonna trust my voice. And that to me is the most critical piece in all of this is making sure that I listen to my voice. And it doesn't mean that everybody else's voices have to go silent, but let's be clear, my voice comes first.
And I think having time to listen to it, I think that if I could leave
Yeah.
anybody at least even with a little bit of coaching on my end, right? It's the biggest thing that I find is that we don't make time to listen to it. And we spend too much time on the laptop. We spend too much time on the phone. We spend
Yep.
too much time on the, streaming services. We spend too much time on
Yep.
all the social media or listening to people give us advice or seeking out advice or whatever. And the
Yep.
times when I finally am able to get clarity is when I'm sitting with my cup of coffee looking out my window and I don't have any other stimulation. Or if I'm taking a walk and I don't put headphones on and I'm just walking. And those are the moments where the ideas come and the peace comes
Yep.
and the remembrance of who I am comes. And I think it's so important, even if it's 5 minutes. I have had some of the greatest, moments of peace in those 5 minutes where I'm like, oh, okay, I remember what this feels like. I remember what this feels like. And that little spark starts to ignite again. And that's what I'd been missing, and so that's what I'm finding again. But I think it's so important to take the time to listen to yourself.
I've been doing about less than 3 minutes every day, at least three times a day. Very slight meditation, and it helps. And I think sometimes just starting there, even if it's one time a day, that's the key. So I agree 100%. So go out there, you all, and if nothing else, for 2 to 3 minutes, just start and just meditate without all the noise. You'll get some clarity.
So peace and consistency are my words. What were yours again, Paula?
Joy, peace, and happiness.
Peace, consistency, joy, peace, and happiness to you all. How is that?
Love it. Love it.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful day.
We'll see y'all next week.